There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hey, hello and good evening. Mrs. Evans just told me Monday night is the popular night. We'll see about that, won't we? Let's bring her onto the screen. Mrs. M, and I need you on the right side, or the left-hand side of me, don't I?
Yeah.
This is not Good Morning Portugal. Well, it is Good Morning Portugal.
It's good evening, Portugal.
It
is.
is.
Good morning to different parts of the world, like in Hawaii, for instance.
Yes. And it's webinar time. Now, I'm a little bit nervous. Webinars are not my natural... on a webinar as a host and as an interviewer, I'm okay. But as a presenter, maybe not. Now, fortunately, you have years in the training room, don't you, as a skilled facilitator, helping people with presentation skills.
Yes.
So,
but I do normally look at the presentation beforehand.
Oh, really?
And I do normally practice it a little bit, but it's okay. Let's go with it.
Shall we?
I would normally just start by welcoming people and saying hello.
Well, you haven't even let me start to see if that's my first slide.
Okay.
You know, at the beginning, it should be. The first slide comes up, doesn't it? One of 120, which says welcome on it. No, okay, we won't be doing that, don't worry. Okay. What I'd like to do, by way of an introduction, actually, not a presentation as yet. I want to move the energy of the event. Webinars can be very rational, can't they? And electronic and digital.
Yeah.
And kind of, I don't know what, but very head-based. And what we're talking about, I think our orientation for the Portugal Club is very heart-based. So I'd like to play a little video, if I may, that might get us in that space. Please say hello if you're joining us tonight. And we're here to talk about 2023 being the year that you might move to Portugal. And it's a matter of helping you and supporting you with doing that. So this really needs to work for you tonight, as much as I've made my best attempt at making a presentation to support you. And really would like to hear your input as somebody who's watching, who is interested in moving to Portugal.
Yeah, I'm absolutely certain that if you and I can talk from the heart, and if people ask questions, that there'll be something of really great value for people who are considering, like, A, emigrating anywhere, but B, emigrating or migrating to Portugal. Yeah. And also people that want to get a wriggle on and do it sooner rather than later. So
well said, Mrs. M.
You know, any questions that you've got, you know, we'll do our best to answer them. I mean, we're not necessarily talking about the logistics, like what you need to do, because Carl has those covered.
And it's in my presentation.
Oh, okay. I'll let you get on and set the scene then.
Let's do a little. Let's get into that heart chakra, shall we?
Yeah, and after that, maybe we should just talk a little bit about, you know, our journey.
That's also in the presentation.
Okay, I'll leave you to it.
I'm doing quite well so far.
Sounds like you're doing a great job.
I'm so glad you're here, because I would be like, I'm doing my presentation, and I would be gabbling through it. So I'm really glad you're here, and feel free to interject as and when. Okay, but this is if we could just breathe out. It's 9 o'clock. Setting this up this evening hasn't been without its challenges, but you know, that's not a boo-hoo story. That's just how it's been. Yeah. And this will be a really lovely moment, I think, to unwind, breathe out, and give you a sense of why we are here, and the invitation that we will return to during our presentation. So here it is. This is San Martinho de Porto, or the little beach just along from the bay that some of you may know if you look at my photographs from time to time. a smile. Well, I think I'm well and truly in my heart chakra now. After that, did that
I'm in my
bring a
eye
tear-
chakra.
Did that bring a tear to your eye, little mini?
Yeah, but actually before
that's
then,
better,
because
isn't
we've got a lovely little flurry of messages, and so the Global Nobles have just said, Carl and Mrs. M. Hang on, let's put it on the screen. You guys are great. We've been listening to you for about a year. Currently, we're in the airport in Montreal after a week in Lisbon, and then Jenny Ann Slater is joining us from France, and she's thinking of moving over very shortly.
Bon nuit.
So she's joining us on this cold, frosty night, and Portugal feels very inviting.
Yes.
Funny
that.
Then we've got the OLP. Hi, Louisa and Carl in SMP. So I've just asked the Global Nobles, how did you find your trip to Lisbon? You know, did it feel like a good match for you? I don't know. Is this your first visit? Or was that your first visit to Portugal? I'd be really keen to find out how it went for you, and if there's anything else we can answer for you.
Absolutely, that's what this evening is all about. And in a word, is 2023 the year you moved to Portugal? In a word, nom de plume, Sarah says yes. And the Global Nobles, it was great. Driving was really challenging, not like California roads. The roundabouts, you'll get used to those. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Do keep your questions coming as they occur to you. We will, if we don't answer them straight away, we will definitely come back to your questions later on.
Or we can put you in touch with somebody that could answer your question.
That's also in my presentation.
Of course it is.
I'm ticking a lot of boxes tonight.
Yes, you really are.
Are you comfortable?
I am, actually.
And have you got the best tech ever that we've managed so far?
So far, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. The lighting is favourable.
Yeah.
You look lovely tonight on the live stream.
I've just had a shower, so I might get really hot and look like I'm having a hot flush or something.
Flush. Me too. If I keep looking at you, I will as well. Okay. So this is the first time I've done this presentation. I don't think it'll be the last time, and I will evolve and modify it according to Mrs. M's input and yours, you lovely people who are watching this evening. Oh, and a very good evening, just quickly before we get started, to Owen, the internet's loveliest show presenters.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you, Owen.
Thank you for joining us.
Great to hear your recent good news, mate. Okay.
Yes.
And Owen, as a bit of a veteran over here in Portugal, may have things to add as well.
Yeah.
And not all sugar-coated stuff. There's been. I'll go through what I see as the several stages that we've been through here in Portugal, and I'm sure Owen will have something to say about all of those as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've been enjoying cooking downstairs today and cooking up some arroz doce, which is like the sweet rice, the Portuguese sweet rice. We wanted some comfort food. And, I'm sure later on, in this presentation, we'll be talking about why you might need comfort food from time to time, because there are some times when it can feel a little bit overwhelming. Yes. Being in a new country, and we're 5 years in. This is our 6th Christmas coming up.
Still seeking comfort from time to time.
Yeah, from time to time, gently.
Okay, this is webinar 1 of a series moving to Portugal in 2023. Next week we'll be joined by João Oliveira, who takes a slightly different approach to finding land and a home. And he's a sustainability man, an incredible chap. The way he thinks and sees the world is really beautiful. And Mama Bear McGowan will be joining us in the first Tuesday of the new year as well, looking at life and death in Portugal. And I know that sounds a bit drastic, but it is one of the areas we look at, and you'll find out more about that. We are holistic, and that means looking at everything in the way that we were quite Pollyanna-ish before. I certainly was. We've learned to really take a 360-degree view, a holistic view of living life in Portugal, warts and all.
Well, yes, sorry, I know you want to get on with your presentation, but in our very first year here, when I was pregnant with our youngest, we house sat for a lovely couple. Annie has become a good friend of ours, but her partner needed to return back to France for medical treatment. Yeah. So sometimes it happens that we need medical treatment, and sometimes people choose to go back home, and so we've been really sort of it's been up close and personal in our face.
Yes, and to not look at every aspect of it would be errant, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
And
I
we've
mean,
learned to do
life
that, I
carries
think.
on,
Yeah.
and of course, all those things that happen on the everyday flow of living here on this glorious planet, it happens when you move as well.
Yeah.
And of course, when you move, you might not have the same like group of support and whatnot around you. So.
Yes, yeah, well said. Okay, in typical presentation style, who are we? And that'll be Carl and Louisa Munson. I'd prefer to show the website here and show you a little bit about the newish website, which changes quite frequently. There's lots here. There's the Gumperverse with the Gumper map and what Gumpers are, and the Gumper store, the Gumper blog with James's piece from this morning there.
Yeah.
Portuguese homes, Portugal meetups. There's a lot here. That our mission and vision, and meet the team. You know, there's some terrific people who we work with, and so you can find out more about who we are. And I think, given some of the comments that have come up already, you have a sense of who we are. But for anybody who doesn't know who we are Good Morning Portugal, effectively, and our new, well, and every day, not just effectively, but practically, and every morning from 8:30 Portugal time till 10 with a morning show. And more recently, we have introduced something called the Portugal Club. And can you see that the text big enough to read your bit there?
I can actually, yeah.
Go on, do you want to say your bit? I mean, in a way that, I mean, it's work in progress, but that's like your mission statement, isn't it?
I'll be honest. I spent most of the summer trying to work out and get to the core of what it is that I do, because as some of you that are listening today might know, I'm actually an astrologer and a subliminal hypnotherapist, coach type person. And so most of my time, actually, when I'm not here with Carl, I'm actually working with people, helping them through their life changes. And so I was really trying to get to the core of why I wanted to join Carl and help him, as well as do what I do. And also why we choose to like homeschool and whatnot with our children. And what I came to the conclusion was that I want to create a safe space for people. Whether, whether I'm helping you with astrology or coaching or helping people with a move, it's what I do. It's who I am, I guess. So Carl has, bless him, created this statement for me, which I'm probably going to put in my own words, but it's really, it encapsulates it. But it's feel safe, feel supported. I want you to feel at home in Portugal and laugh from the top of life's roller coaster.
That does sound a bit like me, right?
Yeah, it sounds more like you than me. But he's really hit on something, because it's actually taken me quite a long time to really feel at home. I didn't quite realize what it is to feel a sense of belonging, and how I might get there, and how actually feeling some grief about the move in the first place stopped me from actually starting to feel that sense of belonging. And even when you do want to move around, it's you still grieve, or you can grieve. There is there's quite a few different processes, if you wanted to use models and stuff, change models and whatnot. But there's a roller coaster ride of emotions that you go through, and also experiences. So I'm really here to create the safety and to help people get a bit of time to themselves, where, how it works with my clients currently is we have a time to, we meet up on Zoom or StreamYard. We meet up for a virtual meeting. And then it's your time. It's your time to talk about your feelings, talk about your hopes, your fears, and everything. And I just listen with my sort of hypnotherapy head on, and listen for the words that you're using, because the language that you come out with will really indicate what's going on behind the scenes. And I'll just ask you a few questions, and what happens is we go quite deep in the process. And I meet with my clients sometimes every week, every 2 weeks, every month. But it's essentially a time for you to sort of explore who you are in the process of moving, because your identity really shifts with every move.
And that's a component of the Portugal Club, of course, which will come back to the one-to-one coaching. And she's the yin, as you can hear there. I'm the yang. Let's do extraordinary things together here in Portugal. You came here to live your best life, right?
I'm definitely the kind of softness. Although on the show I'm more like Saki.
That's interesting, but it's definitely a combo, definitely left and right, yin and yang. The light and the dark. We take it in turns to explore from both sides of the table. on top of the table, under the table sometimes. And, we get an all-round view, I think, with me and Mrs. M here in how we want to support people. So that's us. Good Morning Portugal with our Portugal Club extension. Let's call it that, for a service that is a Portugal support system, or Move to Portugal support system, migration mastermind, and coaching service. And a lot of these, the spirit of it, I think, gets lost in all the copywriting, because I am an incorrigible copywriter and marketing, and my mind goes into that and just coming up with triplets and rhyming couplets and stuff. But I hope the energy of it and the spirit of it comes across tonight. That's what I really hope to do. And to be coming from the heart with this. So that's us. I wonder if you could tell us who you are this evening. What are your Portugal plans? Only share as much as you want shared publicly on the internet. Okay, remember that. This is not a closed webinar. This is broadcasting on our YouTube channel. It's, we're quite open and sharing with how we go about things. And if you appreciate that spirit, there is a side to that, which means that what you're saying here can be not used as evidence against you, but will be there on the internet forevermore. So just share what you're safe sharing, and feel safe sharing.
Also, later on we'll share some of our plans, because we've got some big plans.
Definitely.
It's taken us like 5 years to get sort of clear. We've both got our own companies here now, but we're now starting to kind of develop bigger and bolder plans ourselves. So
right, Mrs. Emma, I've got a little surprise for you.
Go on.
So this is a little exercise for everybody. Only do this if you're able to. If not, if you're driving,
I like an exercise.
or operating heavy machinery, which I'm doing at the moment. Oh, this is light machinery, isn't it? But I wonder if you're happy to do this, whatever level of you feel comfortable participating. So shutting your eyes is good, but not if you don't want to. But just get into your imagination, really. Just a very quick exercise, in terms of Portugal plans. 5 years from now, Mrs. M.
Okay.
Here we are. You're 5 years from now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
In what, nearly going into 2028.
Oh my God, I'm going to be 53.
And you're lying.
I'll be in my 50s by then.
Yes. Okay. You're lying in bed in your house in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
And there may, as you're waking up in the morning, there may well be hopefully me next to you.
Oh, I hope so.
Yes. As opposed to somebody else, is what I'm saying. But hold on, let's not be laughing and larking about here. So whatever it is for you, you're stirring first thing in the morning, and there might be some pictures, photographs by your bedside. There might be a drink there. It might be a whiskey. It might be a spirulina.
Whatever drink from the night before.
We're just getting into the spirit of 5 years from now. A half-eaten pastel de nata,
okay.
Whatever it is for you.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the photographs of the people next to the bed there and who they might be. And you open your curtains or raise your shutter, typically in Portugal.
Oh man, nice view.
You like that view?
Yeah, I do.
Good, okay.
We've moved.
And I wonder, we've moved, have we?
Yeah, we've
Don't give the game away just yet.
Sorry.
Don't influence people too much. But please take in your view of whatever you have there as you've lifted the shutter and opened the windows. And look out across whatever's there. It might be a yard, it might be the car you're driving. It might be the backyard. It might be chickens. Again, I don't want to influence you too much, but what's your heart's desire in 5 years' time as you look out of your bedroom window there? And then, you might smile. I hope you're smiling at what you're seeing there and loving the view. And you're going downstairs. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a tickly throat here. It could be emotions as well. But you're making your way downstairs, enjoying your home, what the finishes, whatever finishes you have in your home, and the beautiful pictures on the wall or not, whatever fabrics, whatever, your decor, your style, as you go, if you're going downstairs, if you're not all on one floor, and you're moving into the kitchen and the living space, the dining area, and just getting a sense of what your house might be like on the inside there, brushing against the grand piano. If that's your thing, and opening the fridge, looking at the food in there, and there might be more photographs of people around, and there might be your other living companions in the house there in 5 years' time here in Portugal. And you're thinking about, you're opening the diary, you might be there might be holiday plans from Portugal in there as you look at your diary or wall planner on the fridge. Where might you be going from Portugal on a little holiday or a weekend away? Who with? What might you be eating and drinking? And you're doing all of this as you're opening your fridge as well and seeing what produce, and whether it's full of cold beers or whether it's full of lovely green, lush vegetables or kombucha in Mrs. M's case. and getting a sense of your lifestyle in 5 years' time.
Okay,
and,
I got it.
And there might be pets, mightn't there? There won't be dogs in the house if it's Mrs. M. But so there you go, and then come back to the room and give you a little sense of to help us with who you are and what your Portugal plans are. We know that you have some. Mrs. M's still staring up into the sky there. Yeah. What do you? How is it? How is it for you? Antonio F's here, and you've already moved to Portugal, Antonio F. So it'd be interesting to know what your plans might be in 5 years' time. Maybe for you, from your point of view as a Portuguese man, citizen, what you expect from us, because this is important to us in this presentation. You know what responsibility we have as expats coming into the country. So please say hi in the chat, in the comments. Maybe that little exercise there has given you a sense of what life will look like in 5 years' time here in Portugal. Any surprises for you, Mrs. M?
Yeah.
Big pause.
Yes. My sense of our life is much bigger than I'd anticipated.
Right. Okay. All right.
And the kids still lie in quite a long time because they weren't anywhere to be seen.
Okay.
But I know they're there.
Right. Snoring somewhere in the
I don't know, but
different to how your rational mind would have it. Okay, very good.
Yeah, because like my rational mind, at some level, there's that sense of it's probably too grand a dream.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But then
and you talk yourself out of it before you even started.
But actually, as I was like sat there, it felt really nice. And actually, Portugal's a really lovely country. Like there's a lovely energy here.
Yeah, and you're still here.
Well, yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Well, for some people that could come up, couldn't it?
Well,
actually,
I mean, as I was kind of like reviewing the house, the way it definitely wasn't the UK, because it wasn't kind of insulated.
Yeah,
it was quite airy and open.
Right.
I had a lovely sense of space that you really get in Portugal, I think.
Cool, thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to keep people too long this evening. I want to be, quite brief and to the point. And I know I'm my own worst enemy.
I tell you what would be really good is to understand. No. I think understand what it is you want to achieve by the end of this.
Yes, this is the next slide. I'm pretty good at this so far, aren't I? So tonight I want to tell you what the Portugal Club is. Okay. Who is it for? And are you ready to join us? Just to qualify it, if it's for you or not. And I'll ask you at the end to join us. That's it. As you've just.
You're actually going for a
enrollment and registration.
You're actually trying to register people. I thought you.
No question. Oh, okay. Yeah, I want people. I want to work with people.
Okay.
I want us to work with people. I want our community to grow. But it's not possible to answer that question yet because I haven't spilled the beans on what we're about, and I don't think we've made that connection yet. But that's what tonight's presentation is about. What is the Portugal Club? Who is it for? And are you ready to join us? And it's fine either way, because we want to work with people who this is a fit for.
Well, right there, you've already created some resistance in me, which is a bit crazy, isn't it? Because I'm actually part of it. So.
Okay, can I ask you to park your resistance for a moment?
Can I just I just want to clear up in terms of registration.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a financial commitment. It could be an effort. It could be wanting to create something and wanting to achieve something.
Yes.
It's not necessarily.
Yes. That brings me to my next slide. Funnily enough.
Do you know what? I'm going to sit back and listen to you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I do appreciate your interjections. In case you weren't here at the beginning, Mrs. M is an experienced trainer who's trained people in making presentations. So I'm really in the dragon's den here. So I'd like you, as in the way that you may have told us who you are in the comments and what your Portugal plans are. Could you, in light of this being, is 2023 the year you moved to Portugal, what would be your best outcome for this webinar this evening? Okay, so that might be to find out about visas. It might be to find out about, how to pay your taxes on time so your bank account doesn't get frozen. That happened to someone here. It could be. What is your best outcome of what were you hoping to get from this tonight? Is what I want to ask you. I want to give value. And that doesn't mean, as Mrs. M was just saying, it doesn't mean you signing up as a member of the Portugal Club. It might mean you go from this with a contact.
Yeah, or it might mean that you just think, wow, I'd like to work with other people who also have similar dreams.
Or I don't want to go to Portugal anymore. I can't stand these hippies. I'm not going there. If that's what Portugal's like, you can keep it. you know, but that's why I'm asking you to name it. You know,
Yeah,
this isn't just a sort of consumer exercise. I want you to get value from this exercise, and you as well, Mrs. M. You know, you went through that exercise. I'd like us all to get value out of this. So what's your best outcome? Feel free again to put it in the chat or in the comments. And if you're not watching this live, if you want to do that, I'll come back to comments that are made later on any number of platforms. So do let us know. And my voice is a bit wobbly. Yes, you're hearing that this evening. So you were somebody was asking about Expats Portugal earlier on. I think that was OLP. Question, Carl, are you still hosting the Expat Portugal show? Yes, I am. And this is an early distinction I want to make, which is what we're doing here is, and I'll go into this more, the distinction and what differentiates us from Expats Portugal. Now, I worked with Expats Portugal, I think, for a couple of years, helping develop the offer, the provision, work with people on the Expats Portugal plan as well, and had a great time doing that. And I've made many wonderful, well, we both have, haven't we? We've made some amazing friends through the contacts and people we've worked with at Expats Portugal, and all the professionals that I've worked with there and still work with. So to answer your question, yes, absolutely. I do something called the Expat Portugal show, which is talking to the professionals over there, who you'll see on the screen here, the Gilda, Sarah, Jacqueline, all these wonderful folks who, as you'll see at the top of the page, are who I would call the dream team for the nuts and bolts of migration to Portugal. And that is not what we're doing as the Portugal Club. No. We're offering something a little bit different. And in discussion with Jerry called it the spiritual side, didn't he, of moving to Portugal. And I think that's quite, that's one description. The differentiation will become clearer as I make my way through the presentation. But just so you know, Expats Portugal, and if I remove that from the screen there, sorry, where am I? Oh yeah, let me move your comment as well, OLP. If you go to goodmorningportugal.com/expats-Portugal, you'll see my connection to Expats Portugal there. And we are affiliates. So complete transparency. We work with Expats Portugal. If you sign up through that link that's on the screen there to get access to the wonderful Gilda, the nuts and bolts, the dream team, insurance, visas, mortgages.
Can I just check?
Yeah, please.
Not only are people like when they get premium membership with Expats Portugal, they're not only just getting access to the forum and things like that, but they're also getting discounts with working with all these people. Is that right?
That's what the premium membership is. Yeah. So, you get, for example, you get 10% off Gilda's services.
So for your membership, you might actually, or you will actually save. If you have already decided you're going to use Gilda and all the other people to sort out the nuts and bolts, then it could very well be in your interest to get the premium membership, because
you will save far more.
You'll save loads of money.
It's 97 euros. It's 97 euros. And you mentioned the forum. The forum is an amazing repository source of information, and you can join that for free. Right. So even if you go through our link, you don't have to sign up as a premium member. You can become a member through our link, goodmorningportugal.com/expats-Portugal. And that is the dream team for the nuts and bolts. We don't do nuts and bolts. It's my pleasure to work with those folks, interviewing them, finding out more about what they do, and hosting the webinar on a Thursday evening for Expats Portugal. So we work together, but the Portugal Club is not doing those nuts and bolts things, as you will find out as we make our way through the presentation here. So there you go. Goodmorningportugal.com.
Loads of comments coming in.
-Portugal. So on to the next slide, which is these are the stages. So in the early days, before we'd really started Good Morning Portugal, we were pre-Brexit Brits, weren't we, who'd driven here and were having a great time in an extended part of the EU project without a care in the world. Brexit occurred, so we as Brits have experienced the pre-Brexit and post-Brexit scenarios now. And are still dealing with that to some extent, with the changes in how we need a biometric card and so on these days as Brits. But the big change, I think, was when the pandemic came, and that's why I've put the US flag there, because there was the pandemic period as well, which was an incredible time for Portugal coming to the attention of people all around the world. People stopping, people reviewing their priorities in life.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where my business picked up, because any kind of shift in consciousness like that makes people start questioning and wanting a bit of clarity and a bit of extra peace.
Yeah.
And of course, in the world polls, Portugal comes out really favorably, doesn't it? As one of the top places to live in terms of peace of mind, quality of life, and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I think, at the time of I'm going to call it the phenomenon of the pandemic, people were looking for the fastest way to find peace, and peace of mind and connection and stuff.
Yeah, and as far as states and countries and nations worked, Portugal did an exemplary job as far as nation states go in managing the pandemic. And many people, that's where we started our Good Morning Portugal show as an information service for people, English-speaking people in Portugal, what to do in this time when we were terrified, weren't we? I mean, we had the living bejeebers frightened out of us with the lockdown and the pandemic. And I felt the need to launch a live stream program, and that's where this all began.
Yes. And I have to say, in terms of how we saw the pandemic out, it was very comfortable, wasn't it, in Portugal?
Yeah.
I think mainly given the fact that there's so much space and not so many people.
and we happened to choose somewhere quite out of the way and rural, hadn't we?
Well, we didn't really choose it. It just so happened that we were there as
well,
as it started.
Depends, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The spiritual side of moving to Portugal. What are the choices? What aren't the choices? It will be. That's interesting work.
It certainly does make you think. Where might I want to be if something like that happens again? So I mean, I don't know what your mindset is as you're listening to us now. Whether you think this is the kind of thing that could happen again or not. But if you do think it's the kind of thing that might happen again, and like you might already have an idea as to how you want to live, that could really determine where in Portugal you go.
Good. That's a good bit of input. Thank you.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people, and we met quite a few people, in particular Europeans, that were trying to get away from their governments. They were really wanting to escape and trying to hide out a little bit. And of course, Portugal's got so much space.
Where are they now? Well, we can't tell you.
Yeah, we definitely can't tell you. And we're not dissidents ourselves. But whatever your strategy is, Portugal's probably got it covered. Because if you want to hide out, there's tons and tons of empty buildings all over the country.
You're describing quite a Mad Max scenario there, hiding out in empty buildings.
But also, if you want to have a lifestyle that is supported, there's, like all the cities have tons and tons of flats where you can be like surrounded by people. Like if you're worried about
isolation.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and the population density is generally low.
And the parks here,
there are many choices.
The parks here, there are so many parks, and people check in on each other. And even when people were wearing masks in cafes and stuff, people were still very polite.
Civil.
And,
yes.
It just wasn't that edgy.
It seems it tended to unite rather than divide people, which is more than you can say for other countries.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, that was the pandemic, and that's where Good Morning Portugal was born.
Yeah, and if you're for a place that's compliant, you'll find Portugal is one of the top compliant countries in Europe. If it's also if you're not wanting somewhere compliant, I would also say that Portugal is actually quite, they mind their own business quite a bit, don't they?
There's quite a rebellious undercurrent we discover, isn't there, among people?
Yeah, people tend to, in my experience, people just get on with their own lives.
Yes.
And most people here are super compliant. So, if you're worried about being somewhere where people follow the narrative rules, then you've got that covered. But if you kind of want to mind your own business, you can really do that quite easily here, is my experience.
Good point. Well made, Mrs. M. And now, of course, we're in the post-pandemic period. What a mess that is. But let's not go into that sort of subjectively, qualitatively. Let's just call that a historical time of the post-pandemic era, where we discovered, didn't we? I mean, that's where my sort of Pollyannaism started to come undone a little bit in the post-pandemic period, because people who had decided to come to Portugal that we got to know, actually in the post-pandemic period also went home, didn't they? I couldn't believe it. The first few people that I'd worked with who decided not to stay in Portugal, I took it quite personally. I said, well, hold on a minute. Well, why? Where are you going? And that's something that's informed the creation of the Portugal Club.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, the whole expats everywhere, what he doesn't tell you thing, the Portugal Pollyanna, that was me. And something changed during and after and in this post-pandemic period. I'll also talk tonight about the personal crisis, which is, I think, what a lot of these folks who did decide to go home, who arguably, I was going to say, didn't have the right level of support. I mean, no one was really doing anything to support people at that deep level.
Do you know what? I don't think it's an issue of people not having the right support. I think it's more that people didn't realize what support they might have needed.
Yes.
Because you don't know until you know. You can't have a crystal ball necessarily and know what you're going to need.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why I said to Carl, I'd really like to spend some time coaching with people, because you don't know
what you don't know.
Well, the people that we knew that came over, they'd spent thousands of pounds packing up their life, saying goodbye to people, selling off stuff, putting stuff in storage, then thousands of pounds shipping their stuff over. They went through the pain and anguish and also excitement and adventure of finding a new place, making new friends, relinquishing their driver's licenses, and doing all the paperwork,
financials,
and
leases,
and I think if you've not really taken yourself through all of the thoughts about what it's like to be in another country, and you've never practiced it, it can come as quite a shock. And so what I'd really like to do, if you'll allow me, if you want the chance to sit down and have a chat and stuff, is I want to take you through some of these processes and find out what's really important to you, because we could actually save you some money. And we could save you the heartbreak. It's not the heartache and anxiety. It's not the money, is it? It's the heartbreak of starting an adventure and then going home. I mean, and a lot of it, I think, depends on how
not going home. I mean, there are people, I think, who are here, which is, and that's why I mentioned the what now moment. And if there's one thing I would like people to remember from this webinar, this presentation, is the what now moment, where if tonight they think, I don't know what he's talking about. When it happens, you'll know. I do know what he's talking about.
In fact, in the interview I did with Lonnie talks about that as well. He says, what's it called? I can't remember.
The oh shit moment.
The oh shit moment, where all of a sudden you're here and you're like, oh crikey, this is what I signed up for. A bit like, when you break up with someone and you're feeling really, really great about it, and then all of a sudden it really dawns on you that
when one of your favorite CDs is the trigger, because it's no longer in your. I'm making
we're making light of it,
but that's a real thing.
But we all have these moments. I mean, I had one of them this time last year, coming up to Christmas. I just thought, oh my goodness, like the enormity, or like on my 5th Christmas, the enormity of us being here suddenly hit me. I was thinking, what about the community for our children? Like, what about growing up with all your family around you? And these things will hit you and they'll come out, they'll surprise you. And so really, I just want you to know that wherever you are in your journey, whether you're thinking it through right now, we can talk about it. Or if you're actually over here, we can talk about it. Because as these things occur to you, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to work for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It might just be that you just need a bit of support.
And to check, investigate and explore things.
Now,
if this were a timeline, obviously historically pre-Brexit, post-Brexit, pandemic, post-pandemic, it brings us into this moment. And
I can't get back into this show.
You can't? No. What's going on? Is that computer failing?
Can you see me? Can you see me okay?
I can see you fine. You've lost that producer view though, haven't you?
Oh, okay. So
you just need to log back into StreamYard. And
I'm trying. It's not letting me do it. So
that's a shame. Okay. Anyway,
but it's fine.
You're such a pro.
Happy.
We'll carry on. You'll be able to focus on my presentation delivery instead of. Okay. So
I mean, sorry. Just before I forget, like other things that come as a surprise to people is the stress that moving can put on your relationship. Now that sounds a bit doom and gloomy, like, oh my goodness, you're going to be under stress when you move if you're moving in a relationship. But you might also find it makes you stronger as well. But it's to be
Well,
aware
it
of
can
that.
do, can't it?
And it can,
if you don't
and
see
the
it
reality is most likely it's going to do both. So it'll make you stronger, and then when things go wrong, it will make you weaker. And the important thing is, like, how do you get back into that position of strength again? And who do you talk to about it?
how are you resourced?
Yeah,
That's the thing, isn't it? How are you resourced?
there are so many different things that come up.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and thank you, Owen. For actually, no, before Mrs. M was telling me, so you can't see
I
what's
can't
going.
see anything.
Do you want to try
I'm
one more
I'm
time?
still trying.
Oh, okay, well done, very trying. Okay, so if this were a timeline, if you'll have to visualize this then,
Yep.
Mrs. M, pre-Brexit, post-Brexit, obviously that's a matter of historical record. Pandemic, post-pandemic, it gets a bit grey there, but we are through the worst of the pandemic lockdown scenario and into the aftermath of that. And within that, we've learned about the personal crises, our own and other people's that can occur, and that's been quite a recent thing, I'll say, from my point of view, because it was all sort of roses and upbeat Pollyanna kind of stuff. But I'm very present now to what can go on for people with my own challenges, and working with a lot of other people who observing what's gone on for other people, and of course looking forward into the future, the next crisis. Now, we had a Portugal Club conversation with John Heimbach about this, who tested the fourth turning idea, and how collectively as a culture, Western civilization, if you like, is moving into the next crisis, recession, economic challenges, Ukrainian war, all of these, the big social, cultural, contextual setting that we're in. So that's what we're dealing with. And that's what I'm suggesting we can help with.
Yeah,
as the Portugal Club. That's where we're positioning ourselves.
The way, so a couple of our friends that went home, the thing that finished them off actually was not really about their life and stuff, but it was more practical matters, that during the pandemic, the accessibility of flying back home or visiting and the cost of it increased so much that it was going to be prohibitive.
Yeah.
So sometimes you may well have really thoroughly researched plans about how you're going to live and how you're going to make being away from your family or being away from your culture okay.
Yeah. And
then something else comes up, and like Carl mentioned, what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in the financial markets right now. You're going to have to make your own call on it. But the way I see it, like when I watch American news and also British news and this, that, and the other, I still think actually the gift of being somewhere where I don't watch the news with full consciousness as I would in my own country is a massive gift.
Yes,
because you can almost pretend like it's not happening.
You can't hear what people are talking about in a restaurant or a bus, can you?
Yeah, you can't hear. You can't get really present to the trauma of it.
Yeah.
Also, we're living in a place where people's family connections are really, really strong, which makes me think that if ever there was an overreach of the way the country was managed, I actually think people's commitments to their families will be stronger than the commitments to the governments.
Very interesting.
Which I think will act as a check and balance in a way
precedent for that.
Yeah, in a way that you might not have in the UK, because people's loyalties, their family strengths have been eroded for decades.
And in hippie terms, it's vibrationally as well.
There's more connection here between the generations.
So.
There's more connection between the neighborhoods, and obviously they're changing because lots of expats have moved here. And in this show that Carl does and I help with, you could be forgiven for feeling that most of expat life is actually American, British, European, South African, like Western migrants. But actually there's a much bigger community of migrants from India, Pakistan, Brazil. It's much bigger than what we realize, and there's been a massive migration and a shift here, so that is going to have a knock-on effect. But one of the things I really do like about Portugal is that they've had I was going to say enjoyed, but they've had negative population growth.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have been moving away, not necessarily because it's a bad place, but because they just want to explore. And they're definitely one of these explorer countries. And
it's in the DNA, isn't it?
Yeah. So they've got this kind of adventurous spirit. And of course, the
Well, let's not
countries.
make it too romantic. I mean,
No,
people
no,
leave
but
Portugal. It's a brain drain, isn't it? People leave
Yeah.
to better their chances elsewhere.
yeah, and to experience different things in
Yeah.
a more of maybe an English-speaking culture.
Yes.
But you know, we still need people here, and so they're not that closed off, in my experience, to migrants.
I will add that, Mrs. M, if I may,
Yeah.
to the current scenario.
Okay.
That's a nice bit of context for what's going on
Yeah.
in Portugal. A lot of Americans really worry that they're really damaging or disturbing the country with their massive input.
Well,
here.
everyone does wherever they
They've
go.
gone from 8,000 to 9,000 apparently in the last
Yeah.
little while. It's not a big
That's not
deal.
huge.
So there you go. There's my timeline and a little summation of the last 5 years. Owen, this is a lovely thing for you to contribute. Thank you for your openness here. My personal crisis happened. If it were not for the Gumper community, I could have given up. So I'm more than grateful to be part of an amazing community. Thank you, mate. That's
Bless you.
lovely. Fiona saying, I think in relation to this bit, the 5 years, this analysis, people don't realise how not being able to travel at will very difficult, or will be very difficult. They felt too far from families where before they were only a couple of flight hours away. UK, we could drive, like I've always said, we can drive home. We could be home if we fly for dinner tomorrow. It's different for people from the US. So yeah, PS, away from the UK, is the new club just for USA? If so, why only one flag? No, the reason you never know, do you, until you share your presentation, how it's going to land with people. It's not, this is not just for Americans. It was the influx of Americans, and I dealt with mainly Americans is the point that's being made there in that pandemic, post-pandemic period, and ongoingly. So it's not exclusive. It's not a slur on any other countries. It's just where my experience is, and a little note to self to take that out of the presentation. Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's move on and go to the next thing, the what now moment. Now you can't see this, Mrs. M, but it's a pastel donato on the screen with the what now moment. And as I said before, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if this doesn't make any sense to you, there may come a time when it does, and you think, yeah, let's get in touch with Munson or the Munsons about this.
I think if you already know that when you come here, you've got to work, and that you have to make a livelihood and raise a family or whatever, I think you're in a very different position than if you're coming to retire and you've got a nest egg and opportunities of how you might want to spend your time. Because I think the what now moment's slightly different if you hit the floor running, you know.
What, and you're distracted, basically?
Yes.
I still had it, though.
Yeah, I still had it and do have it.
Yes.
Like, what now?
Yeah.
To be fair, I had it in the UK as well. I'm always having the what now moment.
If I can expand on that. Yeah. I mean, it's all part of the midlife crisis kind of material, isn't it, we're talking about? But in this particular instance, in coming to Portugal, it's that thing of, you know, I know when I get there, I'm going to spend every day going to the cafe and having a nice Portuguese coffee and a pastel de nata.
Yeah,
and it gets old. Now, I don't want to take anything away from anybody, because things that get old, of course, can be re-enjoyed and reinterpreted and reconnected with in the future. This is a metaphorical, for instance, sort of moment where one day you might be in a cafe and think, actually, this is great. I've been coming to this cafe for a few months or a few years now, but actually there might be more to life than this. And that comes, this is a moment, I think, what you and I have just said, we've had it ourselves, and it's certainly something that happens to people that we've talked to, that we're aware of. And we can also observe it in people who might be going through it without actually realizing it as well.
Yes.
So it's when, I suppose, when you have an idea of what you want your life to be. I mean, retirement it has its own what now moments, doesn't it? I mean, the shocking figure is that a lot of men are dead within 10 years of retiring. And I'm sorry to add that.
Trying to giggle.
Yeah, but the point being made here is that retirement's an idea and a culturally conditioned moment where it's like, okay, I won't have to deal with all those people I've hated for the last 40 years or whatever. I'll be a free man to play golf and, you know, build an extension and blah, blah, blah. However, the reality of these things is always different to the concepts. Yeah. Okay. So the what now moment, that, as I said, that's the thing to bear in mind, to take away from here, para levar, that moment where you think, yeah, I realize what he's talking about now. So how we work then, and how the Portugal Club works, and how we can help with that place in time, the what now moment, and some of the things that Mrs. M, I'm so glad you're here, and you've touched upon some of the other moments, not just the what now moment, but the other realizations that we have, and how we can be available to people. So we are a migration and integration support service. So we help
I like
people
that integration.
Yeah, well, it's both sides of the water, if you like. It's
Yeah.
helping people get their head and heart together coming here. And if you've already arrived and you want some help with your head and your heart and the balance of those, we're here for you. It's the Portugal Club is created and run by founder members. Now, the reason I put that is because we are going through these processes ourselves. We're not like, saying we know everything about this and this is what you should do in any circumstance.
We're going through it all the time.
It's peer to peer.
Yeah.
We are going through this, and it's that spirit that we offer this Portugal Club and invite you to be a member of it, so that we've all got something to give to each other. Me and Mrs. M help each other and hurt each other like any other human couple.
Yes.
And we do our best to bring something useful to that. And that's the spirit of the Portugal Club as well. There will be adversity and there'll be beautiful moments to celebrate. And it's really important and helpful to have a context in which that's understood and shared as a group. So that's our group, our weekly online gathering, the Portugal Club, where we have a kind of support group. I don't like that phrase particularly, but we have a space where people come together and have a continuity of connection with each other and make friends with fellow travelers as well. It's really, I've seen that really work with Americans who are now here. Who made friends in groups I facilitated whilst they were still in America.
Yeah, and they're still friends, aren't they?
They're still friends. Yeah. It's lovely to see.
Because a bit like how for those of you that are parents, a bit like, and I say this thinking you're going to think that we've done the same, and that's actually not true, but a bit like, people go through their antenatal classes together and they meet other parents who have children at the same time, and they go through all of their emotional ups and downs together, and then they stay in each other's lives forever and ever and ever. I mean, we didn't have that experience, did we?
No, but we can see people doing that who've migrated to Portugal, for sure.
Definitely. So people are still supporting each other, but with the weekly meetup as well, it's also an idea to start talking about your dreams. And
it's at a time to suit people who might be in North America.
Yeah.
Okay, so 9 until 10. 10 until 11, I beg your pardon. 10 until 11 is when we do that. So it's really useful for people who would otherwise, there are some people who join us in the morning who deserve a medal for doing that. This is a far easier time, as Suze has already said this evening. Nice to be tuning in during daytime hours. So yes, we make it possible to be part of that online gathering weekly at a reasonable hour.
And I just want to sort of like clarify and add that it's not just about, getting that support, but it's a place, with that what now moment of, oh God, now, what do I do now? It's also that place where you can test out your ideas on purpose. So like not on purpose, but like about your purpose. Like if you've got really clear and if through the sort of conversations you've been having with other people that are moving here, and if you've been thinking, you've been out and about and you've seen that there's a need for something and there's a skill that you've got and you're thinking, want to do something about this. You've got a place with other people, with us, and we can help connect you, help to develop your ideas. There might be other people in the group, so it's a bit like a mastermind group, I think.
That's why I call it the Migration Mastermind. I don't think everyone's familiar with what that means, a mastermind group, but that is absolutely spot on.
It's like peer-to-peer support. I mean, I know in the business world, like I used to work for JP Morgan Chase, and back then we would have mentors, that we would meet up with like once a month, via video and whatnot. But like, this is also like a mentoring group, because most of the people that are moving here at the moment that we're in contact with, they're all professionals. Nearly all professionals.
And what Americans are like, what do you do? But they've retired, so they say, what did you used to do?
But out of all the Americans that I've met so far who have moved nearby, they're all still curious about how they can contribute, and they all feel very what's the word? They feel very grateful for another chance at life in a new place. And I think that upbeat energy, met with somebody else wanting to develop things. I think Portugal is actually quite a great place to develop things.
Yeah, and these amazing minds that are coming over that have had incredible corporate careers and networking careers in the United States coming over, wanting to make a contribution, still having that energy. That is also part of the weekly online gathering, is to have people speaking to the group who you'll see Travis Cunningham.
Yeah,
He's
what
the
an
first
incredible
member
fella.
of our extraordinary expat Hall of Fame. So for me, it is the test tube or the experimentation laboratory for extraordinary expats as well. I really want to encourage people to make a contribution and to connect that to the what now moment. That is what lifts people, I think, in the what now Maya is a sense of purpose. And that's what will also foster, inspire and ignite in the weekly online gathering as well. We'll have incredible people speaking, and you'll speak to each other in that environment and hatch incredible plans together.
Something I really want to bring across as well, in our sort of like mentoring group. What did you call them? The people who are involved in it, the sort of like your experts that are coming on board. We've got they're not all just expats. You know, we've got actual Portuguese people that contribute. There you go, contributors.
Yes.
You know, so like
well, let me give you an example.
A lot of these services are, you know, expats telling expats how to do it. That's not what we're here to do.
Well, one thing you might mark me down on is my timekeeping on this presentation. I think my content and slides are good, but I think my timekeeping is awful. I did hope for 30 to 40 minutes. So if I may move on and bring in what we're talking about, the contributors here. And this does look a bit like a wheel of life. And I think it's quite important to have a tool of that kind to assess each part of your aspirations and your lifestyle. And it's slightly different. It would be, wouldn't it, if we're doing it? And it's about living your best life. That's a key phrase, about having your best life in Portugal before and after you move here.
Yeah.
And roughly speaking, these are areas we want to focus on. And I'll go round. I know everyone's gone straight to love and sex at the bottom.
I did as well.
Did you? Yeah. So well-being and all that means. Wealth. And how not to get yourself locked out of your bank account, which happened to me last week by the taxation authority.
Yeah, that was horrific. A horrific shock.
Yeah. Life and death. We're talking to Mama Bear in the morning about death cafes, facing the fact that dying in Portugal, if you're not used to the culture, can be extremely traumatic for the people around you. You won't know a lot about it. I'm not being trite, but obviously it's difficult for the people who are left behind. And it's a very different culture, possibly, to the one you've been to, as will be your getting your affairs in order. We need to have open and frank conversations about that. And we have started that, and we will continue. Love and sex, SOS. What does that stand for? Sex over 60, wasn't it? We've got expert speakers who want to talk to us about who I think they're saying they've had their best love life ever. Yeah, 60 plus.
Yeah,
they're part of the faculty. Is that making you cough nervously?
Yes.
Mrs.
No. I mean, we can't talk about sex over 60 because we're not there yet.
No, I'm looking forward to it though. Purpose. That's a biggie. A purpose. You know, kindling a contribution here. So as you stare at your pastel de nata, pushing it around a plate, thinking there must be more to life than this. Yes, there is, and I think I don't want to. I'm not in any way belittling expat lifestyles of folks who, you know, there is a kind of parody, cliche, stereotype of the expat who's just, you know, gin and tonic drinking, golf playing person who's enjoying life and indulging themselves. That's fine.
And fair enough.
I've got no problem. If that's what I want to do, that's what they want to do. But I know for a fact that a lot of people, even doing that, are having this what now itch. Yeah. You know, because these are smart people who have something to offer. And sometimes just that routine of consumerism and bon vivre is not enough for people. You only have to look at Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization is still a thing once you've retired. You don't retire from actualizing, do you? And if you do, I think you feel a negative effect. And community. And I think we've said enough about community. But there you go. There's your Portugal Club as an infographic. You like that, Mrs. M?
Yeah.
Weekly group then, one-to-one coaching and private forums as well. So you haven't got all that noise that you sometimes get on social media. We moderate the groups for people who want to stay in touch in private WhatsApp or Facebook groups as well.
I mean, I think the wonderful thing here is just thinking about the amazing skill set that we've got. You know, I mean, it's not for me to reveal what I know about the people listening in today, but I know that we've got healers, we've got community people, we've got all sorts of people listening in right now.
Ayurvedic food person, you know who you are, who wants to talk about eating for your feet. What there was a book that she had.
Eat right for your type.
No, it was eat according to how you feel. I think it was called,
Oh,
but it
wow.
was listening to your body's needs.
Yeah.
And we've started this with Coach Turner, of course, 50
Mm.
plus vitality. We are taking a holistic approach. The physical level is important. I'm not talking about the nuts and bolts that I referred to before, the professional services. I'm talking about the holistic needs of mind, body, and spirit. And
Yeah.
I think that's where we're positioning ourselves as the Portugal
Mm.
Club. We are at a what now moment after 10 years in France. Thank you, Jenny, for that.
Yeah.
Feeling into
So
what life in Portugal would be like.
And this is actually quite cool. And thanks for joining us here tonight, Jenny. Because there's nothing to say that like you can't move out here and you have to stay. A lot of the most interesting people I know have moved around from country to country and spent a good portion of time there. And in fact, Jenny allowed me to interview her very recently, so
Cool.
I will be bringing her our conversation onto the channel very soon.
Cool.
In terms of what it's like to move from one country to another, and how do you know when it's time to move again. I'm also interested to see that we've got some other people that I've not seen here before in the chat room with questions.
Benny's here from Indonesia, is that right?
I've never met Benny before.
Okay, good to have Benny here.
And we've got Her Empire, who's got a question.
Well,
have you
come
seen
back.
That?
I've not got to my Q&A slide yet, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
So the invitation.
Bear with us, Her Empire. We'll get there in a sec.
I played a beautiful film, even if I say so myself, featuring our daughter, Minnie, who made a windmill along on the seascape that is Grolier. And it's called The Invitation. It will be put on our channel, and these are the words at the end of that video, with beautiful piano music, a beautiful view across the Nazaré, and these wonderful windmills that a local chap makes here in Portugal, in São Martinho de Porto. And it was just so evocative of this sense of this invitation that I'd like to make to you now. So Portugal is, and I know this is where I'm going to get marked down by Mrs. M. This is a slide with lots of text on it. It's not ideal, but Portugal is a wonderful country with a beautiful culture and people. We remain delighted to call it home and call upon others so moved to join us here and co-create something extraordinary. This country has proven to be a fertile backdrop for our dreams. Should it prove to be the same for you, let's build lives together that are much more than an inexpensive retirement or escape from somewhere or something else. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with it being an inexpensive retirement or an escape. This is what human beings do. But I put it to you, ladies and gentlemen, that there is so much more to life than that. And if you're not attending to the more to life that there is, the what now, that sticks a little bit. That irritates. That becomes a little bit awkward sometimes, I think. I would suggest. So there's our invitation. And I believe we've created a community, like a community within the community, if you like, because Suze is talking about how, thank you very much, Suze, for your lovely comment about how important the Gumpers are to you. Where is it? A really nice comment. Yeah, this is where Suze says, I keep the dream alive, so life's obstacles don't deter me. Portugal bound, believing in miracles is ongoing. Thanks all. That's the cut of our jib. The cost for what we're doing, the Portugal Club, the basic monthly membership fee is €49 a month to be part of our weekly group.
And just to let you know, that's per family, not per person. So if you're moving, if you're moving as a couple, what you're getting there is 4 sort of like mentoring groups, like 4 video meetups, support groups, whatever you want to call them, every month, maybe 5 because they're weekly, and some months obviously have 5 in. So like when you break it down over the course of the month, that's quite a lot of support, in a group that you can really chill out and get to know and support each other through their moves and learn from each other, and we'll be there as well.
Lovely.
And then if you are wanting also to have an hour's worth of session each month, then
one-to-one this is, right?
Yeah, one-to-one, either with me or Carl, possibly both, or
that's pushing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you never know. I mean, we want to work it in a way that works for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Then $99 a month. So essentially you're getting I think it's a really good, I think it's actually too good a price, to be honest. I charge more for my astrology one, I'll be honest.
Yes.
But
let's argue about that later. Not in front of everybody.
No, it's fine. I mean, I just think what's going on here is you're getting an hour to yourself every month.
Yeah.
where we're there to listen. I just wrote a few notes of what I think
of my presentation.
No, I'll give you that later.
Oh,
but
okay.
no, I mean, what I would really like to get clear about with you is why are you moving? Why now? Okay. That's the important thing, because people think when they've made that decision, I'm going to move, they then start going about it hammer and tongs, and it might not be the right time. So it's like, why now? Then how do you really know? Have you gone deep enough into it to really be sure? And then what do you need to do it? And what are you hoping to achieve? Like, what does your future life look like? And like Carl said, are you escaping, or are you moving towards your big vision? So let's, help you get really clear about your vision, and we can build it on a month by month basis. Like you say, you've got the support from people.
Yes.
And if you want to meet up more frequently, then, we can just come to another arrangement, but we're there for you, to help you through these changes you're going through. It's a big deal.
And this is our language as well. Suze, thank you for this. Jenny and Suze having a chat about. Thank you for
that's really nice.
But I don't just believe in miracles. We've seen this in action, haven't we? How Suze
really
lives.
have.
She was saying earlier on that she's about the improv and the creativity, and she really is. That's how she lives her life. Yeah, improv, theatre, art, spirituality, film, and creative liver. You do live. You're a creative liver. And I don't mean the body organ, the liver. I mean, as in you live in a creative way, and you don't just count on miracles. Sorry, you don't just believe in miracles. You count on them. Yet surprised every time they come true. That's the human, isn't it? Human beings are like that. But it doesn't stop you, Susan. We've seen you. We see you.
Yeah, we see you, and we've seen you in action as well. You're pretty incredible.
So there you go. You can sign up at goodmorningportugal.com, and you will be taken. This sometimes throws people to coffee.com, which is our payment processing service, and where the memberships are hosted. So that will take you to ko-fi.com/GMP to sign up. And if you don't, if that's not for you, but you would like to support the morning show, you can do that. And there are a number of benefits of being on the morning show, which is jumping in the cockpit of the show in the morning, a bit like Leonardo DiCaprio and Catch Me If You Can. You can be backstage. So that's
we're always trying to find new and cool ways to like pay you back and to say thank you, because we can't do this. We just can't do this without the community, can we?
Certainly not. There is no Good Morning
Portugal. We are literally creating with you right now, which is so cool. I love it.
So there you go. There we go. That's the last slide, Mrs. M.
I'd like to go to some of the comments, if I may.
I've got this terrible news in, though. This website falls into a DNS. I've been probed by a DNS NX domain error. You may is that an offer of tech help, Mehmet? Good evening to you. I don't know what you mean, and it sounds awful. And if you can help with that, do let me know, please.
I have no idea what that means.
And I was patting myself on the back for having fixed my Good Morning Portugal domain to my Google Sites template, but maybe I've created another problem there. And yes, there we go. The miracle talk of Suze. And thanks, Carl, you say, Louise, and all supporters. You make it seem possible and worthwhile. Nice moment
to lovely.
End on the presentation on there. So, yeah, any questions? What have we got, Mrs. M?
Well,
bearing in mind it's 10:10.
Okay, yeah. I do want to just go back to the comment from Her Empire.
Yeah.
Although Her Empire said, "Hola, no worries. Looking forward to the Q&A." Oh, okay. So, yeah. So Her Empire, if I go back, Her Empire says, "Hi, folks. I wanted to ask, would you recommend going to the D2 or D7 route if you're self-employed?"
Nuts and bolts, not my area of professional expertise.
Some
people might speak from experience here, which could be helpful to you, Her Empire. Yeah, I'm doing Migration Tuesday with Gilda tomorrow night from 9:00 on Expats Portugal's YouTube channel. So come along and ask that question there, Her Empire.
Yeah, and then hang on, there's a different part to this question. Do you think it's possible to relocate on a modest budget, or should you have a fixed figure minimum in mind? Are you coming from the UK? I'm guessing you may be.
Very subjective, isn't it? Modest budget.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't change what the government want, but I do think you can live on a relatively modest budget in Portugal. But this is all very subjective stuff.
It's very, very subjective, and obviously it depends on what kind of lifestyle you're hoping to create.
And I'll tell you what I'd add to that.
Go on.
the people are really getting freaked out about, is it going to be too late to move to Portugal? So many people moving there.
No.
If you want to continue to move to the places where those people are moving to, then yes, very likely. And we see this. This is globalization. This is gentrification, isn't it? But bear in mind, 60% of Portuguese people live along the coast and in the two main towns of Lisboa and Porto.
Yeah.
The interior is a dream place where you can live on a modest budget, relatively speaking. So you may have to adjust your compass, as it were. But yes, definitely Portugal has so much to offer still, and for a very long time yet, I would say.
I mean, when we wanted to come out, we earn more now actually a month than we did when we, like, of the actual amount of money we came out with, I think. I mean, it's quite shocking how little we came out with. We just came out with our hopes and our dreams, didn't we? Not much else.
Well, it's true.
And a camper van.
Yeah. And we've still got most of those hopes and dreams left.
Yeah, but we ditched the camper van.
The camper van was a miracle. Was its own miracle.
Yeah, it brought us out here. So I mean, you really can get by, and we do meet people who have come out in all different ways. I think it does help if you've got a lump sum, to help you recalibrate when you arrive. I think if you've already got a business, in particular, if you've got a business that you can run from a laptop, you're really laughing. But I would still say you need to have a good few months up your sleeve, would be preferable, because if you're going to rent a house as opposed to buy a house, then you'll need 3 months rent up front, which may be the same in the UK now, and that might be de rigueur in the US or wherever it is you're coming from anyway. So it is worth having some savings, but we are testament to the fact that we have nothing other than goodwill and almost like a song in our heart. We really are. We've gone against the odds, really, haven't we?
Yes. It's true.
So yeah, I think you'll probably be okay.
I mean, let's have a chat. We're very happy to have a phone call chat, a Zoom, and talk things through, and just to check if how we can work together. So
there are different areas, aren't there? Like we know so many people who are very off grid and very, very remote, and almost unreachable in Portugal. And if you don't need to have a really great internet connection, then that's a really great possibility.
In the interior that do have a good internet connection.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
And that'll be more and more the case, I think. And you can live in an amazing.
And we know somebody who's doing the Starlink link ups as well.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I mean, you really could live anywhere in Portugal and have a great link to have a fantastic business.
Yeah. Okay, look at this. I love my Gumper community. And just in case you're thinking, what Gumpers? Yeah, GMP. Good morning, Portugal. At some point, we went from GMP to Gumpers, and you can find out more about that.
Isn't that driven by the actual community? Isn't that what they named themselves?
Absolutely, yeah. So grateful. Want to get more involved and will. Still waiting on Canadian pension. 6 months so far. They say it will come retroactively soon. I call it D7. Yes,
fantastic.
That sounds wonderful.
I really like what Paul was saying here. In life, there are always ups and downs. Portugal is what you make it. You always have a choice, and I think that is the biggest thing. Is to come into this not feeling like a victim, but come in feeling like you have the choice to make your life the way you want it.
And I think it helps to be in a community of people who can help you to be aware of the choices you might have.
Yeah.
Because you don't always know what your choices are, do you?
Yeah.
We know that we can make a different choice sometimes when we're feeling resourceful, but we don't always know what the options are. And I think that's the power of community.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I'm more referring to a minimum startup figure that you'd recommend to have before thinking of moving. Oh, we didn't let that stop us, did we? What did we move to Portugal with? $5,000, was it? And we spent a lot of that by the time we arrived here.
We'd already spent most of it.
And I had work. I managed to get a contract on the way, but
yes.
The more the merrier. You know what? I am not the person. I'm not the guy to ask about financial things. Do not follow my example. I'm okay and very, very helpful with other things. But that I would suggest. I mean, we are looking at having a wealth management investment aspect to what we're doing, not run by me.
Not run by us.
That's a question. That's a question that obviously, if you asked it in social media or jump on the Expats Portugal forum, what would you recommend as my buffer? or backup plan financially? What's the minimum I might need? You'll get a whole range of answers, but you might get some sensible and useful ones from people in a similar situation.
And also her empire. I think that also depends on whether you're coming out with somebody else, whether you've got dependents, how often you're wanting to go back to your country of origin. I mean, because of the way we work and the way we live, we made the decision it's unlikely that we're going to be going back to the UK very often. In fact, I haven't left this country for 5 whole years.
And we would prefer people to come and visit us here, wouldn't we?
Yeah. So a lot of it really depends on what your expectations are. But we're very happy to have a conversation with you. So just drop us a line.
Look at this, John and Pam. Now, I'm not going to be outing anyone in here who I may or may not be working with. But if anyone does want to say if they've had any benefit from working closely with me or Mrs. M, do please say so. John and Pam, we're excited to say we'll soon be there. Yay! Our flights were there. Some great news.
So pleased.
I imagine, you were thinking, weren't you? Oh, it's not going to be till next year now with the D7 stuff. But there was a little influx of energy, or a spike of energy to Seth, and wonderful things happened for a few people. Look at this.
In the last couple of weeks, people have had loads of
good news. Yeah, I came to Portugal at 75. Big regret. Should have come 20 years earlier. Thank you, Paul, for that. And lovely to meet you the other day.
Paul, you don't look 75, mate.
He doesn't, does he? He doesn't. Yorkshire spring chicken.
Yeah.
I would like to know if you have any experts in your panel about travelling expenses. What does that mean exactly, OLP?
Yeah.
I mean, members of the community have made similar journeys for sure, I would say. And Douglas,
are you trying to like just price it out, and trying to find out how much people have like splashed out?
Traveling expenses as in the cost from coming from America. I mean, we've got a lot of precedents for that. There are people you can see here who've flown from the United States and will plan to do so on a regular basis. Reach out to them, OLP, and that's the sort of thing, that's
the sort of thing these weekly
in the weekly
chats
meeting
will be really helpful with.
That was what was going on when I was facilitating the group. People would be coming for what they thought was the content. And it's like an 80-20 rule. I think probably in many ways, you get 20% of the content you're thinking you're going to get, and 80% of value from the peripheral things, the private messages to, those people did that. I'm going to ask them directly. So,
also the weekly meetups, they're private, so they're not on.
They're not in this environment.
Yeah, they're not in this environment.
That's a really important thing to say, isn't it?
Because, anyone that's watched us for a while will know we're horrifically transparent and honest.
Yes.
We really do kind of
guts out.
Yes.
But we won't do that to you.
No.
Yeah.
But
unless you want.
But if I would be very happy to share our monthly outgoings.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can let you know how much it costs to heat a home.
Yes. And we're open to having people just telling us how to manage that all better as well.
We're very happy for someone to help us manage it better. I'm quite happy with how we're doing it so far. It's our best iteration yet, isn't it? But and I'm pretty sure that once we're in the group, people will be very happy to share their details as well.
Yes,
because that's the whole value for it, isn't it? People join these groups so that they can have that level of openness.
Yeah, definitely.
Who's that?
But boundaried and safe.
Well, it's creating a safe space, isn't it?
Yeah, we do that. While having an expat community available is great, our plan is to seek out volunteer opportunities right away. We can help with that. Pam, speak to Pam in Alcobaça. She's your woman there. As a way to give something immediately to Portugal and to begin meeting Portuguese. Yeah,
that's great.
Pam is your woman for that. Yeah, Pam Smith in Alcobaça. You can find.
But also, there's work away. There's all sorts of different things. There's loads of different ways that you can volunteer. It's not just Pam. Pam could be very busy if you.
Yeah, I'm giving her loads of work to do. And she's bookable though, as an expat.
But this Facebook user might not want to be based.
Who is this? They are married. They are partnered with Lola. Wants to get now. Forgive me. Who are you there? That rings a bell, and I'm going to kick myself when I find out. A group takes uneaten but otherwise edible food from restaurants to distribute to needy people. Absolutely. I want to work with the film festival in Espinho. So 5 years on, we ought to be, this is lovely. This is your 5-year vision. We ought to be sometime closer to Portuguese. I'm hearing that new wave tune in my head. What is the tune?
I really want to know.
Yes, what is that tune?
Facebook user, who are you? Let us know.
Turn. That's not a new wave tune. Turn, is it? I don't know what that is.
That's not.
The Turtles.
Yardbirds.
The Yardbirds. Yeah,
or
but
something like that.
that was not
Before
new
my
wave. And what new wave tune begins with TUR? And actually that's nothing to do with our
Do you know
business tonight. But
No,
anyway,
but
we're curious now.
do you know what I love? I love the cut of your jib, Facebook user, whatever your name is.
Yes.
I love the fact that you're already sort of envisioning how you can get involved. Like we know people that have gone on like beach cleans and things like that. Like in the UK, we were planting trees every weekend for a year, weren't we, or 2?
Yes.
And it felt lovely. And yeah, the kids hated it. But at some point, I'd love for us to do that again. But there's always gonna be things to do. I just think that's lovely.
I just turned the fire off. Got the EDP bill earlier on today. Okay, so thank you everybody for being here tonight. I think that's where we're at as far as questions go. You know where we are, Carl@goodmorningportugal.com. Huge endorsement from Pam and I for how much help we've received from Carl. Oh, bless you. From the Gumper community, from EI, from Gilda, Beatrice and Christina, Nuno and Insurance, Vitor, and all our Ponte Lima friends. Oh, thank you for that, John. Appreciate that. And evening, Antonio. I wonder, Antonio, you didn't come back to us on what you hope from the expats and the immigrants and foreigners. Maybe you did and I missed it, but we're so glad to have you as part of our community. You, Doug, and certainly you, Antonio F and Joao F. You are our check and balance on us. A transcendent view on what we're contributing, and we're very open to your input on that level. So I really appreciate you for being here. Mrs. M, how did I do on the presentation? Or are you going to tell me later?
Do you know what? I think you've done good.
Really? Oh, that's very sweet of you. Okay.
I think you've helped facilitate a really lovely sort of flowing conversation, and I think that's really important.
All right. So maybe 2023 is the year you move to Portugal. Do get in touch. You can book direct as a member of the Portugal Club at goodmorningportugal.com on the homepage. You can support the show there. And thank you for being with us. I'm always watching the numbers at the top of the screen, seeing if the rats are throwing themselves on the traps.
Yeah,
people are deserting
there
us
was
in
one
their
surge.
But so thank you so much for bearing with us this long, and we definitely want to get involved. Well, you already are OLP. It's just a level. It's just the level at which you want to be involved. That's the choice, I think. And I forgot this was scheduled. So glad I found you. You made my day feel. Suze, how lovely!
That's so lovely.
All right. So I think just to make you feel even warmer and mushier, shall I play that video again?
Yes.
With our invitation.
And I'm going to go and rescue the kids.
Yes, and I'm going to have an agua dent because I've got a slightly sore throat.
Yeah, and I need to finish off the Christmas cake.
Do you?
Yeah,
okay.
I've
Can I have
soaked...
one of those honey and lemon and brandy things you made earlier?
Yeah, guys, I'm making Christmas cake, and I've left it way too late. I should have done it weeks ago.
Year,
but
2023.
But I've soaked a load of dried fruit in aguardent today, and I might just eat all the raisins.
Let's go do that now. Thank you very much for being
Lots
here
of
tonight.
love.
See you in the morning, or see you with Gilda tomorrow evening, or at the Portugal Club for the first time tomorrow evening between 10 and 11. So thank you so much, and ciao for now. Here's our invitations.